Guys, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the Game Week 7 Deadline live stream. Of course, it is a Friday evening deadline. So anybody that's stumbling onto this stream right now, you're not too late. But of course, you need to know the deadline is not Saturday morning. Like usual, you are having to make your moves or lock in your team tonight. So you're welcome if you didn't know that already. But hopefully with the content and everybody updating you, you knew this already. So let me know where you're tuning in from in the world in the chat. Let me know any questions that you do have. The whole point of today is answering your questions, updating you on some of the injury news that we did have, talking through some wildcards for Game Week 7, the best transfers, maybe a bit of an update on players that I think are not actually as good as what they are being deemed based on their ownership, and also a little bit of an update on some players that are really lowly owned that I think are going to start to become a bit more template as we progress through the next few game weeks. So please do let me know in the questions in the chat as always. And that's the main purpose of this really. So Ollie, as always, hope you're doing well, mate. Gordon, hope you're well, mate. Premier League and Formula 1 weekend here in Singapore. And Gordon saying, Nacho, do you watch or follow the Formula 1? No, I used to watch a little bit of it when it was on terrestrial TV, it was BBC, ITV or Channel 4, whatever it was back in the day when I was a lot younger. But now I don't have Sky Sports, unfortunately, so I don't have the luxury of watching Formula 1, and I've lost a little bit of the actual just love of watching it myself. But hopefully it'll be interesting for yourself, mate. I see how's everyone all doing well, mate. Update on Gabriel. Yes, update on Gabriel. That is probably what a lot of people are wondering about right now and what the status of him is. So let me get up here a minute, the bit of an update here. I do apologise. I've got this in like the worst possible setup ever. Let me get that sorted for you. So I use the Fantasy Football Scout website, just a heads up. It's basically got everything that we need to check in terms of news. So they cover it off here, but I am just going to give you the exclusive on what is going on so you don't have to check it out yourselves. So in terms of the team news regarding Gabriel, this is the big thing really. We're all wondering whether he's going to start because, of course, he went off early in their game in the Champions League, going into this game at home against West Ham, which, let's be honest, it is going to be a bit more of a difficult fixture than what we first thought it was going to be. But still, regardless, we're anticipating an Arsenal win and most possibly a clean sheet in that game. So the update from Arteta is this. Medium to long-term absentees include Madueke, Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, as we know, and their new signing, Piero Hincapié. I can never pronounce it. Is it Hincapié? Hincapié? You guys know, if you tune in regularly, you're not here for my pronunciations. Otherwise, you're in for the wrong channel, no doubt. So, in terms of that, we know the players are out long term. What he has stated regarding Gabriel, and you can see it in the quotes here, is saying, yes, we'll have to wait and see after training, see how everybody is, but we weren't too concerned about him. That's all we really know. That's all we really know. So in terms of the situation with him, if this was last season, I would sit here right now and say to you that he is absolutely playing because Arteta cannot afford to not play him in the situation that they're in right now with the league. Huge win away against Newcastle. Now going into this game, they've got to keep the momentum up. However, problems. Going into this game, they've got many defenders. We, of course, have got Lewis Skelly and Calaflori that can play on the left-hand side. In the centre-back positions, we've also got Calaflori. We have got, of course, Gabriel, Saliba, Mosquera, and at right back, we've got Timber and Ben White. Remember, Ben White can also play as a centre-back. So Arteta is blessed this season with the opportunity to actually rotate his players. So my thought process is this. If Gabriel is fit and available, 100% he plays. That's my thought process. We're going into an international break. You get him through for this game, then he can rest for 2 weeks in preparation for game week 8 onwards. On the flip side, if they deem this West Ham game actually one that they can roll out Calaflori and Lewis Skelly at left back, then I do think Gabriel could possibly be deemed as a bench option for them and then obviously keep him available for game week 8 onwards. My thought process is this from an FPL perspective. If you own him, you keep him, you play him, you hope for the best. Make sure your first sub is readily available if he doesn't play. If I was wildcard in this game week, it's a bit more difficult. I'd be a bit more tempted to maybe go for someone like a Timber for the upside long term, as I do think he is their right back for majority of games. Arsenal fans, if you disagree, let me know. if I was in a position right now and I was looking to buy an Arsenal defender, I would find it very difficult to buy him this week. At the thought of him being benched and you having no exposure in that Arsenal team. So let me know what your plans are with Gabriel. Do you own him already? I think the best position to be in, weirdly, is to already own him, because you can kind of just almost accept what will be. You're never going to sell him because you know if he doesn't play, he'll play in game week 8 onwards. And as long as you have a bit of rare coverage, then you are actually not too bad. Just to give you an example of what my team looks like. Apologies for like this just looking terrible, really. Maybe if I make myself look bigger, this will fill up the screen a bit, maybe. We'll see. In terms of my team, it's a perfect example where I'm happy for Anderson to come in. So there's no need for me to make a transfer. Anderson comes in as a defensive contributions player. That's all I'm expecting from him. And then, of course, I've still got Raya between the sticks if they do keep a clean sheet. So this is a perfect example, really, of how it would be if you wanted the situation of still getting some Arsenal exposure. Nimanu saying, hey, you're an inspiration. I'm a big fan. I wrote about you. Appreciate it, my friend, from Mumbai in India. Thanks so much for tuning in, mate. I've seen you on many videos. Thank you, and keep up the good work yourself, buddy. In school, I'm guessing, in school. Hunter Rico, evening, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Kevin, who would you sell? Who would you sell to get Saka in? Kudus, Salah, or Reinders? Who would you sell? Well, I definitely wouldn't be selling Salah. I think we're coming into a really good run of fixtures. If we get the fixture ticker up for Crystal Palace, give me uno momento. So if we get the ticker up for Crystal Palace, again, because I've put the injury stuff up, I've messed it up. Give me 2 seconds. We're not here for the technical stuff. Let's be real. Otherwise, you'd be on other content creators' channels, no doubt, like FPL Focal or something. So, looking at the ticker, this is based on difficulty right now for Crystal Palace. Everton away. I still fancy them to get a result there. Then, of course, they got Bournemouth, which is decent. Arsenal away. Would I be surprised if Crystal Palace have the players to hurt Arsenal? No, but it's not a great fixture. But then Brentford, Brighton, Wolves. Good fixtures after that. So, Salah for me is a stick. It'll be Kudus to sell. I think that's the way I would look at it. Spurs, Leeds, Villa, Everton, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal. Decent fixtures. Reinders, on the other hand, Brentford, Everton, Villa, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle. I think Kudus is enough money right now to think he is the easier one to sacrifice. If you get rid of Reinders, if you do get rid of Reinders and then you go up into that position, you are getting rid of a budget enabler while keeping Kudus. So your budget is really going to get stretched in your team then. Jonah said, hey Nacho, hope you're well. Sell Murillo to Saliba or roll. Already got Raya. Rest of the bench is Dewsbury Hall, of course, is suspended. Steve, who is playing Villa, not the best. And then Mark Gui, who is just not going to play. So I think Murillo is not going to play based on what we've seen in that game. So if you're in a position right now where you have no other coverage, I think Murillo to Saliba is actually not a bad move. I think Saliba doesn't have the goal threat of Gabriel, but I think his minutes are pretty good. Otherwise, a Timber is also a consideration for you. Hunter Rico is saying, what's he saying? You think Amy is going to take out a match or two this weekend? Don't know what that means, mate, on that one. You might have to let me know if you mistyped that accidentally. Oh, is that the Storm name? Hang on. Oh, that's the Storm name. Okay, I got you. I didn't know. Usually they're a bit more unusual names than just that. So I guess we'll see. We'll see. It looks like the North is more affected than anything else. I mean, this will be a situation where chaos in and amongst FPL if things were to erupt with games getting cancelled. So, you know, I'm not all for it because, of course, it actually affects people in general. Like, if you're wishing for games to get cancelled, then really that's a lot of people who are going to be out of pocket. But from an FPL perspective, it does cause chaos and it does cause double and blank game weeks, which is very interesting. Billy saying, hi Nacho, help me start two between Joachim Andersen, Virgil van Dijk, Caicedo, Xhaka, João Pedro, Van der Ven. So in terms of starting there, like if I was in a position right now where I owned all of these players, I think if you own Virgil van Dijk, I would still start him. I think Chelsea are a little bit ropey. Virgil, so good on set pieces, and I think Chelsea are really susceptible to those. And also, I would say Virgil van Dijk, so good for defensive contribution. So I would play Virgil van Dijk. Then it really comes down to Xhaka versus Caicedo. I mean, I probably would play Caicedo over Xhaka. I think if I owned João Pedro, I would start him and hope for the best. However, massively counterintuitive because, of course, they play up against one another. So I appreciate that. Otherwise, what I would do is probably say to yourself, in that situation, maybe go for someone like a Joachim Andersen, who at least is going to guarantee you defensive contributions. Caicedo or Van de Ven to start, Scott, in that situation, I think I would go for Van de Ven. Yusuf, so on Wildcard, would you keep João Pedro or not? Another question is, would you choose Voldemada or Gordon? Okay, so for me, anyone that's tuned into my videos and streams, I am a Chelsea fan. I like João Pedro. I don't love him. With whatever's going on with Chelsea right now, I just think the fluidity's gone out of the team. I think a lot of the steam's gone. I think we'll be good eventually, but while all the key players are out, if I was wildcarding right now, I wouldn't have João Pedro. I do think there is a chance he could be on penalties, but if he isn't, and Enzo is the penalty taker, I think that makes him less and less of an option. Now, of course, Voldemada doesn't have penalties as well. I think if I was building a team, I would look long term. I think Mateta would probably be in there, and I prefer Gordon over Voldemada because he has penalties effectively, based on what we saw in the Champions League. Let me just try and cover off a few other bits before I go through my team. Covered that one. Van de Ven to Gabriel or Bruno to Saka. I prefer... So look, I think Gabriel is the better transfer for this week, so I think Bruno can do the damage. I think I wouldn't be buying Gabriel this week just at the risk of him not playing. I probably would make no move in your situation. Otherwise, get Bruno to Saka done and just accept what will happen will be. I think a lot of people will look to move Bruno out. If you look at the fixtures here for Man United, who are, whereabouts are they? Middling. Sunderland, and then they got Liverpool, Brighton, who are just a better team than them. I'm almost certain of it. But usually Man United weirdly can sometimes get results in these games, but I expect Brighton to be the better side. Forest away, Spurs away, Everton at home. I mean, they are so meh fixtures. I wouldn't be surprised if United lost 3 or 4 out of those at all. But I think Bruno's fine to hold this week. But who do I prefer this week, Bruno or Saka? Saka, 100%. But remember, Nuno in charge might just shore up things defensively a little bit. And again, if anyone's watching right now, you're enjoying the stream, please do consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button. Always massively appreciated. Always appreciated. So, shall we all cancel our bench boost due to the storm? Andrew saying it's definitely something that, like, you know, it's definitely something to consider in this situation. Like, the storm could cause problems 100% for me. And if you take my team as an example right now, a bench boost is a possibility. Sorry, let me rephrase that. People would deem this team possibly a bench boost team. For me, it isn't. Gabriel, all of a sudden, is a bit of a risk. João Pedro, we've seen him in training, but could he possibly be 60 minutes and come off? Maybe. And then, of course, we've got the storm situation. For me, this team isn't a bench boost. If your team's geared up for a bench boost, I wouldn't not do it just because you're anticipating the storm cancelling games. I would just crack on and get it done. And if the storm wipes them out, then it is what it is. It's bad luck. But I personally wouldn't do a bench boost, cancel it just based on that thought process. Ludwig, hope you're doing well. Good thing you didn't take my advice on Xavi Simons in your wildcard like I did. Yeah, Ludwig, I can't believe it. We had this discussion. You helped me out so much. But as soon as I saw that news, for some reason, that Potter had gone, my mindset was West Ham will be a lot worse, hence why I went and die. What I didn't anticipate was the quick appointment of Nuno and them actually being better. So really, it's not a situation where anyone's only doing... Basically, we both failed, effectively. Ben, hi mate, hope you're well. Sorry for only now subscribing. I usually watch on TikTok, watch the Chelsea, I support them, and don't know what's happened to them. Club World Cup hangover. Well, appreciate for coming over to YouTube, mate. It's one of those where TikTok's always so short content that not a lot of people love the longer form. So thank you, mate. To the Chelsea right now, the season went downhill the moment the injury to Levi Colwill happened. I don't think people will obviously kick up a fuss about this, but Levi Colwill to Chelsea is what Van Dijk is to Liverpool. It is what Saliba is to Arsenal. I'm not sitting here saying that Colwill is of the standard of those players, but the importance of him is as important, because the drop off to the next best is huge. Now, Badiashile coming back in midweek, we have actually someone who does have the passing range to an extent, that left foot, which is going to be really important in build-up. So I do think Chelsea will improve if Badiashile actually does deliver, because he's been so injury-prone, bad for the last 12, 18 months. I do still think there's a player there, and it does help us out a little bit from defensively with him aerially. So him and Tosin possibly could work together, him and Fofana. But Chelsea right now are just in a situation where you take out Levi Colwill. Again, I think that's so big, people aren't talking about it enough. You take out Cole Palmer, two key players in that team. It's going to derail the side. And when you have players who are very, very inefficient in front of goal, we spoke about this, Gittins, Garnacho, Pedro Neto, who else? Delap possibly. Like, you haven't got killers in the team really. So that's the issue with Chelsea right now. I expect them to come good eventually once we have the players back, but I do think the expectations of this season have dropped the moment Levi Colwill got injured. Would you recommend starting João Pedro over Reinders or Romero? I would probably start Reinders over João Pedro. I think Liverpool are ropey, but I think Reinders is still showing up really well. If we look at the actual numbers for Reinders, hopefully you can see this on your screens right now. If we actually get the details up for Reinders, in game week 6, 0.2, expected goal vote 0.1. I mean, they're okay numbers. They're not great, really. When I look at João Pedro's numbers, 0.03, 0.03, 0.17. Good start. Pretty crap last 3, let's be honest with you. But that's been reflective in Chelsea's performances as well. Jerome, I might have to block you a minute, buddy, just because of the amount. I'll answer the question. If the questions keep coming, then of course I will obviously block the questions. So Caicedo or Porro to start for me. I have no idea whether Porro will start, so I would say to you in this scenario, go for probably Caicedo and just rack up the defensive contributions in that situation. Captain Saka, I love it. Look, I'm always going to sit here and say Erling Haaland. Look, just look at the numbers right now, okay? Expected goal vote 1.14, 0.53 against Arsenal, remember. 1.81, 1.4, 0.77, 1.99. And Man United put up chances against Brentford. I know Brentford ran out 3-1 winners, but on another day that game goes 2-2, and then we're looking at a 3-2 possibly for Man United. I think City still put up fantastic numbers against them, and personally, I think Haaland's still by far and away the standout pick, but Saka is good. Do I think Arsenal are just way better than West Ham, even under Nuno, 100%? But do I see Arsenal beating West Ham under Nuno 4-5-0? No, I don't personally. I don't think they destroy him. I think Nuno knows what he's doing. He probably is going to be in a situation where he probably just sets up shop and probably just, in all honesty, just tries to not get bopped. My Dixie Red, what a great question. It would have to be the former. I have Richards on the bench. Is he a better option to bring off the bench for Gabriel? I have Richards on the bench. Is he a better option to bring off the bench for Gabriel? Yeah, so I'll just have Richards ready to go. Play Gabriel. If he doesn't play, Richards comes on as first sub. Absolutely fine. So keep putting the questions in, guys. I will obviously go through them, but I just want to quickly show my team, a little bit of an update on myself. So I'm locked in. Like that. That's my team. I'm done. No bench boost, no transfer necessary. Anderson comes in worst case if Gabriel doesn't play. Still got some coverage in the Arsenal defence. Would I prefer to have Saka? Yes. Do I have him? No. So my position right now is wildcarded in game week 6, 2 free transfers available in game week 7, and I already think there are cracks in this wildcard team. So for game week 7, the team looks like, let me just reset it, this, fine. When we come into game week 8, and I'll put the fixtures on the right-hand side in a minute, just to give you an idea, is this a bench boostable team? Well, straight away, I think the bench looks good, but double Everton against Man City, not ideal. Double Bournemouth away against Palace, not amazing either, but they probably would start in this team. Realistically, what would the team look like? I probably have to roll out Rodon away against Burnley and hope we get something in that game. If I wanted to get some Burnley coverage and hope for a 0-0, Dubravka could start. But in game week 8, I look at the fixtures. Do I want any Chelsea right now? No. Do I want Brighton or Newcastle for that particular fixture? Not necessarily. Really, what do I want in this week? Palace, Bournemouth, I think probably cancel one another out. Do I want to change my Arsenal for Fulham away? Not really. I think that's a tough fixture. Liverpool against Man United, of course, I would love a bit of that, but where do we go? I don't think it's there. West Ham against Brentford absolutely is a fixture that could be considered. So straight away for game week 3, I got to ask myself, for game week 8, if I make a transfer, does that force the bench boost? I think it probably doesn't. I think the bench boost sticks around until possibly game week 9. West Ham away against Leeds on the Friday night. Good fixture. My actual team looks okay for this week. That probably would be my bench. Dubravka, Anderson away against Newcastle, Stack and Tarkowski. But again, could I put myself in a situation where maybe I shake things up a little bit? I don't really know what the landscape's going to look like in game week 9 with 4 free transfers available. But what I want to make sure I'm doing is giving myself the opportunity. So what I'm trying to say is this, and it's quite boring. Game week 7, I'm rolling. International break for 2 weeks. And then we reassess in game week 8. Because anything could happen. If Gabriel suddenly becomes a long-term injury for some reason, we're selling him. We're getting him out. We'll probably go into a Newcastle defender or something. And we'll go and double Arsenal attack. Maybe selling Bruno Fernandes. For example, let's say that scenario were to unfold and Gabriel suddenly looks a bit of a problem. I could easily go for something like a Dan Burn in game week 8. And then sell Bruno Fernandes for Bukayo Saka. And all of a sudden the team looks pretty good. And then game week 9, we go from there. So, unfortunately, I don't really have a long-term plan. All I know I want to put myself in a situation for is having transfers and flexibility. Knowing that I want to use my bench boost at 8 or 9. The reason for that is because, of course, I've got double leads. I need to understand where their fixtures are good. And if we look at the fixtures for Leeds in general, if we come down to where are the fixtures at on here, I feel like there's a fixture section that I'm being really blind to see right now. Here we go. Although that's a little bit too busy for me. Let's bring this up. If we look at Leeds' fixtures, Spurs, Burnley, West Ham, I could play that in any of those. Then we got Brighton, then we got Forest, then we got Villa in game week 12. But what I'm trying to say is this. I think when you have your players available and they're fit, you get your bench boost done as soon as you possibly can. And that's why I want to use it over the next 3 game weeks effectively. So that's kind of what we're looking like right now. I do apologise, I haven't got any like absolute guaranteed transfers that I want to make, but I do think in this situation being flexible is the way to be. Naturally, what do I do with Porro starting him over Caicedo or Reinders? What should I do? I would start Reinders over that. And then, I mean, I probably would start Porro over Caicedo on reflection, because I think Porro has the opportunity for a clean sheet or possible attack and returns in that scenario. But what I will say is Caicedo will get the defensive contributions in a game like that against Liverpool. In Mbeumo or Saka every day of the week. Hi mate, I'm torn. Gyökeres, Gordon, or Voldemada and Saka. For me, Gordon and Saka is the combination. Sorry. Ignore me. The combination for me is difficult here because you possibly have got two penalty takers in Gyökeres and Gordon, but I love the upside of Saka and Voldemada. So can you not have Gyökeres, Gordon and Saka? Let me know, Edvin. Would you consider replacing Ndiaye or getting some Newcastle assets? Yes, absolutely. But this week, not really. I would love Newcastle this week, but the only way I can get Newcastle is Ndiaye can't go to Gordon, unfortunately, because I don't have the money. I'm 0.1 short. Otherwise, there definitely would have been a consideration there. Actually, yeah, that is right. So I can't go there, so I'm not tempted. Bruno to Gordon, no. Semenyo to Gordon, no. The only move that I could consider, possibly, is this. João Pedro to Voldemada. We've had the news that Vissa is out for even longer than anticipated, possibly gone November. So Voldemada's locked in, absolutely locked in. And when we again look at the fixtures for both of them. So game week 7, Chelsea have got Liverpool and Newcastle have got Forest. So I'd rather have Newcastle. In game week 8, Chelsea are away to Forest. So this is the thing. The argument is you want Newcastle this week, but Chelsea have got Forest the following week, whereas Newcastle then have Brighton. Then they got Fulham, where Chelsea got Sunderland. Then Chelsea got Spurs, and Newcastle have got West Ham away against Nuno. Then they got Brentford. Then they got Man City. So even though I would like Voldemada in my team, I think it makes sense just to keep João Pedro for now. João Pedro is a perfect example of a player who isn't actually an issue for the team right now. We're all kind of in our heads thinking he's an issue, but I do think eventually there will be a time where João Pedro gets mass sold by people. Would you consider replacing Ndiaye or covered that one? Is that team set, mate, or are you making late changes? No, that is my team locked in. I'm content. If Anderson needs to come in for Gabriel, I've got the opportunity for that to happen. I'm absolutely fine with it. Gabriel in wildcard team or no? Gabriel wildcard team or no? It's difficult. I think as long as you've got a good enough bench, I would play Gabriel, yes. And then knowing that if he misses out this week, you still got a good defender, and then he's in for game week 8 onwards. Otherwise, I quite like Timber. If we get at the minutes of Timber a minute. Let me get Timber up. I'm yelling Timber. If we go like this a minute. So what You're in Timber has done so far is didn't start game week 1, but started every game since. I just think he's a baller. I think he's so good. I think he's better than Ben White. I think Timber probably is a long-term pick for this team. Sorry, you can't actually see the fixtures here, can you? It's the only problem with the site. It's so bad. Sorry about that. We'll do something like that. That'll work. That'll work. So yeah, that's like kind of how it looks there with the team. I think that's fine for my team this week. Essentials for a wild card. Well, I actually built a wild card and I lost the draft. So let's build a quick wild card. Let's build a quick wild card. Saka would be in. Saka would be in. I think Gordon would be in. Gabriel and Raya, like I said, we could easily go for a bit of rotation. Goalkeepers, I think Pope's decent. And then we could keep Gabriel in between the sticks. We'll keep Dubravka for now, but you can go for that rotation that people are on about in terms of roofs. Tarkowski, I think all of a sudden wouldn't really be in my team, to be honest with you. I like Mateta long term. I like Salah long term if we can get him in. Maybe instead of Reinders, possibly. And defensively, who else do we need in this team? Maybe Big Dan Burn. Get a bit of Burn in there. I think if you start building your team roughly like this, I think you're looking at a decent enough squad. Haaland's got to be in there. I think Saka's got to be there. Semenyo. I think Gordon's really nice. Gabriel Senesi. Some sort of Newcastle coverage in your team. And then I think the rest kind of picks itself. Mohammed, apologies. On Wildcard, Saka and Anthony or Eze and Gordon. I already have Salah, Minter, Semenyo. I just prefer Saka in general, so it would be Saka in that scenario. Damien, how many points did you get last week? It was 69 last week. So an okay week. Green arrow on Wildcard. I'm happy with it. But I do think there are problems already in the team, which is a bit weird. That's why I'm trying to just get as many transfers as possible in my side. Edwin saying, I'm out torn on this. Gyökeres, Gordon, or Voldemada and Saka. Like I said, I think that's really difficult on that one. I think Voldemada, Saka probably would just tempt me. I got João Pedro, Tarkowski and Stack on the bench, currently in that order, with Gabriel starting. I've got João Pedro, Tarkowski and Stack on the bench, currently in that order, with Gabriel starting. Thoughts on the order of the bench? Ooh. Well, I probably would order that bench, João Pedro, Tarkowski and then Stack. I agree on that. Yeah, I agree on that. Xavi Simons to win die or roll the second free transfer or roll. Roll 100%. I don't think you want to die, honestly. Grealish, Gakpo, Oscar Bob, bench one. I feel like Oscar Bob might start. Yeah, this is a really difficult one because Oscar Bob, I just have no idea whether he's actually going to start or not. And I just think I probably would go for Grealish in that scenario because I know at least I'm getting the minutes. I have no idea whether Gakpo plays or not. That's the only problem there. I got to pick two and Die, Larson, Caicedo to start this week. Eesh. We saw the news that Larson's still not 100% fit and available. I probably would start and Die because he's on penalties. And probably Caicedo. Gordon, Timber, and Die, Gabriel. I would prefer... maybe Gordon, Timber, because I'm quite bullish on Timber's minutes. But maybe I'm a bit more bullish on his minutes than other people. Are Die and Tarkowski worth having, or would you consider replacing them with some Spurs? Yeah, so Spurs I'm not fussed about. Newcastle, yes. I do think one of those, probably on reflection, should have been a Newcastle player. Xavi to Gravenberch / and Die, or I've covered that one off. I'm bench boosting as I want to get rid of the weakest chip to build a strong 11. That's absolutely fine. Start three out of Burn, Truffert, Rodon, Richards, and Van der Ven. So I would 100% start Dan Burn because Forest are all over the shop right now. Truffert, no. Richards, yes. And Van der Ven. So I probably would go Burn, Richards, Van der Ven. Prezi Gamer saying Van der Ven to Gabriel or Bruno to Saka. I've covered that one off. Done that one. Tarkowski and Dial, Mateta and Munoz. I like the Palace boys. I'd probably go for that Palace combination. Salah to Saka. Ooh. So look, my thought process on Mo Salah is this. Numbers aren't good enough. Numbers are not good enough at all. However, I think Liverpool are not good enough at all right now. And if we think it, the manager thinks it, the staff think it. I think they've obviously tried the new players out. I think there's going to have to be some stability in this Liverpool team. So what I mean by that is, if we get into a scenario where Liverpool suddenly roll out the OG Liverpool, you know, they go for Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai is a really important one in this team. And maybe a front three of Isak, Salah and Gakpo. I think the coverage that Szoboszlai will provide Mo Salah on that right flank, which will allow him to stay high, will see the return of Mo Salah. So, for example, if in game week 7 against Chelsea, Slot goes back to basics, plays a Liverpool team that probably is going to get them a guaranteed result against Chelsea, then suddenly I'm curious about Mo Salah. But while we have this experimental Liverpool team where they're trying to shoehorn Florian Wirtz into a 10 role where Liverpool don't really function that way, Mo Salah for me is off the agenda. It isn't necessarily a case of what Mo Salah does in terms of points and goals. It's more a case of what team selection is Arne Slot picking each and every week. So in game week 7 against Chelsea, if he selects that team, he needs to do it again in game week 8 to even maybe consider Mo Salah. If that was a one-off and then he goes back to the box in midfield or inverting the right back, etc., then I think I'm happy to go without him. But if we see a sustainable period where he's actually gearing the team towards just getting the best out of Mo Salah, which I don't think will happen because he has too many chefs in the kitchen, Isak, as we discussed, Florian Wirtz, to do this. But if he does, Mo Salah suddenly becomes another option. I'm happy to go with that Mo Salah, though, myself. So, Salah to Saka for this week, it's a luxury move. I would only do it if you were using the funds to benefit the rest of your team afterwards. Best goalkeeper, that's not rare. I think Nick Pope's a decent pick. I've got Harvey Elliott in my team. Don't ask. Any thoughts on starting him ahead of João Pedro? Yeah. I don't actually know what the situation is with Harvey Elliott, but I'd be very tempted to start him, or if not ahead of João Pedro, someone else in your team possibly. But again, I'm not as clued in. Let me just check out what the minutes featured for Harvey Elliott is. So Harvey Elliott played yesterday 4 minutes. Played 4 minutes. So I would say he gets some significant minutes against Burnley, unless anyone else has a different opinion. So I'll be tempted to play him based on that. Which two would you start? Kudus, Truffert, or Van de Ven? I would just go for Truffert. For me is difficult because, of course, they have the home game against Fulham, which is good. And if you don't have any Senesi coverage, it covers you at the exposure, the clean sheet. Maybe Truffert and Kudus in this scenario. Is Bruno Fernandes a shout for captaincy? Top 8k at the moment. Don't feel Haaland. Well, if you're top 8k in the world right now, you should not be listening to me, who is currently 1.6 million in the world. So you're doing fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing to get yourself into the top 8k. Of course, just what you know already is that Haaland's ownership is going to be massive this week. I get it. You want to be aggressive. Bruno might propel you into the top 100 in the world, but not going Haaland may drop you out the top 10k very quickly. That's all. Just be cautious of that, but you probably know that already. Who am I to judge when you're doing so well at the start of the season? Nikhil is asking in a very, very proper grammar, whom should I bench? Richarlison or Vardiel? My current defence, Van de Ven, Senesi, Calaflori. I mean, if I had Richarlison, I'd start him. Looked like he would run into the ground a little bit last night, or night before, but or Tuesday. But I probably would start Richarlison. Which two would you play? Reinders, João Pedro, or Van de Ven? Reinders and João Pedro if I owned him. Is Trippier an option with Livramento injured? So yes, he is definitely. But it looks like he's lost some set pieces to Tonali. So just be cautious of that. And we don't really know how he's going to manage his minutes with Champions League football alongside Premier League football. But Burn playing left back, I could see. don't really know what their other option is at right back. Newcastle fans, please do let me know. But I would say he's not a bad punt at all. Who do you think is better, Tarkowski and Dyer? I've covered that one. Thoughts on Doku? No, I think that's a bit of a trap. I think he's doing well. Just don't think it's one that I would look to go to. I would prefer Ismail Assar at Palace, for example. Hello, fan, how are you? Would you sign Voldemada for Pedro? So I like the move, but remember, you don't have penalties with Voldemada, which is quite important. Do I love it this week? I do, because Forest are quite poor. But then the following week, Chelsea have Forest, and then they've got Sunderland. So just be cautious of that. I like it this week, but over a 3-game week period, could João Pedro match Voldemada? Yeah, I think he could. Semenyo or Gordon to buy. So if you can just get rid of the fixtures, if you can just get rid of the ownership, I think Semenyo is good. If we look at his actual fixtures coming up that you can see on the screen here, Fulham, Palace, Fulham, Palace, Forest, City, Villa, West Ham. They're still good fixtures, aren't they? They're still good fixtures. Forest in 9 looks even better now. City, I would not be surprised if they have the ability to hurt them on counter. Villa in 11 isn't as bad as what it once was. West Ham in 12. I think the answer is still Semenyo, but I get it. The new shiny pick is Anthony Gordon right now, and that is where a lot of people are going to be tempted to go to. Dan's asking, hi Nacho, wildcarded last week and have Gabriel currently starting. Do I put Van de Ven or Rodon first bench, own Vicario and both teams play each other? I still would hedge towards Spurs myself. Is Tarkowski to Timber worth a transfer? No, I'll just play Tarkowski this week. I think he'll rack up defensive contributions, and if they do just catch Crystal Palace cold, then that could be a huge return for Tarkowski. Am I expecting it? No, I'm not expecting it. Who do you think is better between Leno and Petrovic? Well, I haven't actually looked at the Fulham fixtures too considerably. So we just get them up a minute. Looking at Bournemouth, we've got Fulham, Palace, Forest, City, Villa, West Ham. For Fulham, we got Bournemouth, Arsenal, Newcastle. So a tricky 3. Wolves, Everton, Sunderland. So there's not really much in it. Is there much between them in prices? Leno's 5. Petrovic is 4.5. For that, I'll go Petrovic in that scenario. Don't think Leno's worth the 0.5 extra more. Rather go Nick Pope then if that's the case. Controversial opinion. Arsenal's fixtures between game week 7 and 9 are not great as people think. West Ham with Nuno, in form Bowen. Fulham never an easy game. Neither is Palace in great form. I'm an Arsenal from game week 10. Totally get that. Absolutely get that. For me, the counter argument is, and this might be controversial, Arsenal are the best team in the league. And I do think they are the best team in the league. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do win all 3 of those games. I think they probably are the ones to end the Palace consecutive runs of wins. I absolutely hear you, though. The fixtures from 10 onwards are better, I agree. Up against teams that are still very, very transitions in their management, in their play style. Spurs. Chelsea somehow still transitional as a team, even though it's been about 20 years. Brentford, Villa, Wolves, yeah. I agree on that logic, definitely. But on the counter, I'm just so high on Arsenal as a team that I just think any fixture is fine for them. I really do feel that way. Saka or Semenyo captain, that would be Saka for me. I think the ownership's fantastic. It's a brilliant opportunity to go there. Covered that one off Anthony quite a few times. I'm selling Elliott this week. He got 6.3 last Prem game, and Buendia has looked good. He has looked good. Yes, I agree. Is Saka too risky? No. The risk isn't the fixture. The risk is the ownership of the alternative in Erling Haaland, which is going to be massive. Like, how can you not want to go for Captain Haaland? And I'm thinking based on just like a average FPL player, general player. So there's always a risk going for Saka because his ownership is 7%. So you're taking on a Haaland ownership, which is going to be over 100% possibly. Maybe not that far, but it's going to be big. Probably is going to be massive. So you know it's risky going against Haaland. The actual Saka pick is not risky in isolation. Would I do Salah, Dewsbury Hall and Toast into Saka, Gabriel, Gordon, 3 free transfers? Oof. Yeah, I would. I'm trying to think. With the Salah situation, I've spoken about it. So quickly could this flip. I really do believe that. If Szoboszlai goes into that channel and offers the coverage for Salah, all of a sudden Salah becomes a great pick. But until that moment happens, I'm saying get rid of him. Lilix is saying, hi Natural, I'm on a wildcard 8. Would you do Milenkovic to Gabriel this week or roll the transfer? Okay, so if you're on a wildcard 8 and you want Arsenal exposure, I'm saying Timber. I'm going to say Timber. Ben White played last Champions League game. Timber starting in my eyes, unless I missed some news. I'd go Timber. That would be my thought process there. But again, if there's any Arsenal fans, if there are any Arsenal fans that are, a bit different in their opinion, then please do let me know, because I don't want to be giving out false information if maybe Timber is not as locked in as what I first thought. Just checking Twitter right now to see if there's any information doing the rounds, but I don't think there is. In terms of like players and stuff, like for me this week, the standouts, if we look at the actual fixtures, so if we just run through the games, Bournemouth, obviously Senesi and Semenyo are going to be big. Fulham exposure I don't think is that important. I don't think there are players putting their hands up right now. But I do think Semenyo, Senesi owners, it could be a good day at the office. Leeds and Spurs, very hard one to predict. Leeds will put up a great atmosphere, lunchtime kickoff. Spurs coming off the back of that indifferent performance on a Tuesday. I think there could be some goals in that. Arsenal West Ham I don't think is going to be as clear cut as what we are thinking, but I do think Arsenal will win that game. Do I think that Arsenal are going to beat West Ham by loads? No, but it's the start of a mixed run which turns really good long term. I don't think Arsenal defence is essential, but they will be eventually. So jumping on this week makes sense. Keep an eye on Bowen, keep an eye on Paqueta, keep an eye on Diouf, but you don't have to buy him this week. In terms of Man United, if you own Bruno Fernandes, I get it. Bruno to Saka is a very tempting move, and I would be tempted myself. I think it's a move that doesn't need to be forced, and I still think Bruno Fernandes is perfectly fine this week. Chelsea, Liverpool, João Pedro you keep, I think, but I do think he is a sell as soon as things possibly turn bad. And what I mean by bad is a continual use of him in the Chelsea team and a lack of goal involvement, because I think he is the one that is the finisher in this team, unfortunately. And I don't think he is a guaranteed finisher. His record at Brighton stinks. I think João Pedro is going to be a sell soon. I've said this many weeks and I think it will continue. But this week, where are you going? That's the big question. In terms of Villa, Watkins, if you held him, brilliant. I think he could deliver the goods. He's got the monkey off his back. Everton Palace, I think that is going to be a draw. I think Everton, you play them and just say to yourself, I own Everton at home. Let's hope they put in a good performance. But the same applies to Palace. I would play your Palace. Newcastle are the big winners this week. I really do believe that. I just don't think Ange has a defensive bone in his body. He's just played the Thursday night game, lost, got Murillo injured. Gordon is just fantastic this week. He really is fantastic. I'm very jealous of Gordon owners this week. The other games kind of speak for themselves, I believe. Best 1 week punt in midfield, it would be Anthony Gordon, but I'm also going to put Bukayo Saka above him. Would you transfer out Pedro Porro? If you're going Arsenal, yes. Otherwise, I think it's fine. But he is a transfer waiting to happen. I don't think he's good FPL value at all at 5.5 million. I owned him before my wildcard. And I was kind of happy to own him. I looked at him and I thought, oh, it's Pedro Porro. But he isn't the same player that we've seen in years gone by. So for that reason, he is a sell. You can play him this week. It's fine. But if he's your way into the Arsenal defence, then yes, I think he is fine to be sold this week. Sell Grealish from Minter. I'll just play Grealish myself. Ben's asking when would I use my triple captain chip. Yeah, so triple captain this week is not actually a bad shout at all. Haaland's the only one that I feel confident about for the triple captaincy. Is he even going to be fit around this period? You don't know. You don't know. Triple captaincy is really interesting. If we run through my team a minute, maybe triple captain this week is the way to go. If I put in a little poll a minute, guys. Let me know your thoughts on that. Triple captain Haaland. He's fit. He's getting the service. It's a good fixture against Brentford. What are we waiting for? Home game, maybe? I think Brentford are still going to give him chances. Bank 0.0 million. Raya, Kinski between the sticks. I'll change that to Dubravka straight away. Gabriel, Senesi, Tarkowski, Richards, Bruno Fernandes, and Dye. Semenyo, Sarr. Well, I wouldn't have him die in Grealish. Like, first and foremost, Mateta, Haaland, Jay, Pedro. Who should I buy or sell? You got no Arsenal in that attack. So straight away, I'll be getting Bukayo Saka in there at the expense of either Bruno Fernandes or Ndiaye. I wouldn't be having Ndiaye or Grealish long term. I think the rest of the team looks good. I'll be getting Gordon in there and I'll be getting Saka in that midfield. João Pedro or Ndiaye? I'll probably play Ndiaye. Start Anderson or Richards. Rodon. I'll be tempted by Richards. I think Richards is a good pick. Xavi to Gordon. Yes, I like the move. Like the move. It's a luxury move, but yes, I like it. Should I start Sarr? Who's the rest of your team, mate? Let me know the rest of your team, and then we can get a bit of a context. Jay, Gabriel, Saka. Already have Raya and Gyökeres. Saka. Saka for me. Yep, Leeds is a good shout. That's one I'm considering as well for Haaland. Bench one between João Pedro, Kudus, and Dye Reinder. And bench one in defender between Alderete and... Well, bench Alderete, definitely. Of the other players that you selected, probably would bench João Pedro, probably. Goddy's saying about if I triple captain, he'll triple captain. I don't think I'm going to go there. I'm going to keep it in my back pocket for a bit later. Hopefully something pops up where we can use it. Voldemar in for Gyökeres. Already have Saka, Gabriel and Raya plus Minter, Sarr. Yeah, don't mind it, Brian. Leno or Petrovic for this game week. For this game week, I'll go for the home game always, so Petrovic. And Pedro or Ndai for this game week. I'll probably go Ndai. Bench boost Dubravka, Steve, Kukurea, and Rutter. You can. I don't mind it. I will say with bench boosting that you kind of have to run your team through a planner to see if there's any other weeks where just it lands and you're like, oh my god, this is a great week to use my bench boost. Otherwise, I think you probably do just you have to do that to understand what the rest of your team looks like. But you can bench boost that team, yes. Start Sells or Dubravka. Start Sells or Dubravka. Bloody hell. So Burnley away against Villa or Forest, I would play Dubravka 100% in that scenario. Thoughts of Voldemar captain? A huge differential, one that I think he can deliver, but I would have Saka and Haaland above him, certainly, and the fact he's not on penalties is not ideal. Bench Anthony or Ndai or Reinders, I would bench Anthony. Pedro to Gyökeres or Rodgers to Gordon. I don't love Gyökeres. I've got him on a wild card. I wish I didn't have him. To be honest with you, like in terms of combinations in this team, it's difficult because it's very easy for me to say, oh, you know, I'd rather have Saka, but then it might have had to have been at the expense of Bruno Fernandes, which maybe, yes, that makes a lot of sense. In terms of your team, Pedro to Gyökeres or Rodgers to Gordon, I don't love the idea of you selling Rodgers this week, so it would have to be Pedro to Gyökeres. Are you starting with Pedro? Yes, I am. Evening, buddy. Pick one. João Pedro and Ndai or Romero. Romero is available. I probably would go for Crystal Palace are very good defensively. Probably go for Romero and hope for a goal from a set piece. Is João Pedro to Gyökeres? Nah, I probably would go Ndai. I probably would go on penalties, but he is getting early substitutions, which is worth noting. Is João Pedro, Gyökeres and Vardy to Chris Richards good? Mind that I'm taking a -4. No, not for a -4. Salah and Wood to Saka and Gyökeres. Salah and Wood to Saka and Gyökeres. Yes, do like the moves. Double Arsenal, long-term good. Reinders, though, I do think is going to be a bit of a... Gyökeres, I do think will be a bit of a problem eventually. I just got that gut feeling that there's going to be some issues with him. He needs to be the flat track bully. If he doesn't start this week, it is going to be a mass sell. Just a heads up. I do anticipate him to start, though. So I'm just checking Twitter to see if anything has come out, but I don't think it has. We're anticipating the usual lineups for both teams. I don't think there's any expectation that like a Semenyo or whatever could be benched. See, Salah's the most transferred out player going into this week. I think Salah... Liverpool score against Chelsea, obviously. It's just how many they score. Ollie, sorry, Nacho, missed a bit where you said if I start Porro, then over Caicedo and Reinders. No, I would definitely start Reinders over Porro, 100%. Wildcarded last week, got Salah and Haaland, regret it. Would you go Salah to a midfielder you choose and go better to Gyökeres? Look, Chelsea's injuries that they have right now, I think if I owned Mo Salah, yes, Salah to get Gyökeres is good, but I think Salah to Saka is the only way that I'll be getting rid of Salah this week. How long are we going to suffer from Bruno? That man made me suffer so many times in FPL. I won't forget that red card he had last year versus Spurs. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes, the ultimate troll. But another world, he scores 2 penalties and he's one of the highest scoring midfielders in the game. It just is what it is. It's frustrating. Play 2 out of 3. Van Dijk, Reinders or Richards. I would definitely play Reinders. Then it's a straight shootout between Van der Ven and Richards. I would play the fixture and I'll go Van der Ven. Is João Pedro to Gyökeres and Vardy out to Richards good? No, I've covered that one. No. Voldemar to Semenyo or Haaland caps this week. I'd rank those as Haaland 1, Semenyo 2, Voldemar 3. best Dewsbury Hall replacement, have 9.9 million as I'm doing Salah to Saka. So the world's your oyster, to be honest with you. But if you don't have Semenyo, I think Gordon is one that I would love to have in the team. Covered that one off. Saka or Haaland. Captaincy, bro, I would have Haaland over Saka. But look, if you're chasing a bit of rank already these early days, I like the Saka pick, of course. Bench boost this week with Gabriel. Injury news, you can, but you know you're taking a risk. You could be down to 14 players the moment the deadline hits. My advice is going on a planner like this. Plan FPL. Put your team ID in. Go through each week. Understand, okay, there's another week. For my team, for example, I'm ruling out game week 7 because of the Gabriel stuff and etc, etc. But I can use it in 8 with some transfers. I can use it in 9 with some transfers. So I'm giving myself some flexibility with the bench boost. Gabriel, again, it comes down to your own interpretation. In my scenario, I'm more than happy to keep him, play him, and if he doesn't feature, Anderson comes in as my first sub. It's worth noting, I actually probably should make sure my team is locked in. Because I'm saying it is, but I don't know if it actually is. So that's how my team is looking. Just for context for everyone. Sorry, the site's just so bad. It just makes it always really hard to present on here, considering I'm also woeful at stuff like this. So that's my team there, guys, just for a bit of context for everyone. That's how we're looking. With also the chips available as well. So, yeah, I think it's fine. Anderson comes in first sub if we need it. Yeah, I think it's okay. It's not too bad this week. Ideally, Gabriel plays, of course. Bench boost active, 2 free transfers in hand. Please rate. Raya Dubravka. Yeah, Dubravka obviously not a great fixture. Senesi, Gehi, Van de Ven, Gabriel, Vardy out. Obviously you have to understand if Gabriel doesn't play, you are taking that risk. Saka, Gakpo, Reinders, Mintes, Semenyo. Straight away, I have no idea whether Gakpo plays for you. Pedro, Haaland, Richarlison. Yes, I expect all 3 to play, but Richarlison, a little bit fatigued. So, again, you are taking that risk with the players that you have. But, yeah, it's a fine bench boost. It's a strong 15. There's no doubt about it. Play 2 out of 3. Van de Ven, Reinders, Richards. I would go for Reinders and Van de Ven. Who would you start? Reinders, Saar, or Strand Larsen? Pick 2. I would go for Reinders and Saar because I have no idea whether Strand Larsen actually plays. And it's not like he's got a great fixture either. I have Wildcard activated. Should I swap Gabriel to Saliba? I think Gabriel is one of those where he might just rock up, play, and then happy days, you got him long term. On the flip side, what I would say is Timber and Saliba, I think you give yourselves the guaranteed minutes. So who do I prefer for the next 6? Gabriel 100%. Who do I prefer for this week? Saliba and Timber. So it's all about kind of like what risk tolerance you do have. Triple captain Hal this week, you can go there. I'm not myself, and I've got triple captain available. I just think that'll be another opportunity. And I do prefer going on a midfielder as opposed to a forward, but who the hell will that midfielder be? I don't know. 2 free transfers, don't know who to bring in. I have Salah, João Pedro, and Obi, James Mings. Who do I go among them and for who? Obi? Is that the Man United forward? Let me know on that one, Adenya. Who would you start? Covered that one, covered that one, covered that one. Covered that one off. Is Sells to Mamadashvili a good transfer for the next game week, or should I bring in Raya? So, how many clean sheets are they actually getting, Liverpool? If we look at it here, they probably will keep a clean sheet against Chelsea. Man United, Brentford, Villa, Man City, Forest. Yeah, they're good fixtures. I actually do think they're good fixtures. But I think by game week 10, 11, 12, you're looking to transfer him out your team. I don't think it's worth it, to be honest with you. Connor, hey Nacho, great shout for the triple captain last week. I've used my wild card. Do I go safe with Saliba or chance Gabriel? Yeah, I've discussed this. I think next 6 game weeks, I'd rather you go Gabriel, 100%. But what do you want to do this week? I think Saliba continues to be a good pick without maybe the authority that Gabriel has on set pieces. So if you really want a piece of Arsenal this week, you go Saliba, I feel. Who should I bench? Consa, João Pedro, or Ndai? Well, Villa aren't great defensively, but they're at home against Burnley, which is a good enough fixture. I'll be tempted by Consa and Ndai, I'm going to be honest. Muno, but you have to understand, if you bench João Pedro at the ownership, even if he just gets an assist, it is going to negatively impact your overall rank. Muno's on the bench at the moment. Sub for Pedro, Grealish, Van de Ven, or leave on bench. Muno's on the bench at the moment. Sub for Pedro, Grealish, Van de Ven, or leave on the bench. I think if I own Muno's, I'm going to be honest with you, I would start him every game because he has that potential to score. I would start him over... Probably start him over Van de Ven. Saka in for Gakpo. Yes, I like that move. Which two to buy out of Saka, Gyökeres, Eze? I'd rank those as Saka 1, Gyökeres 2, Eze 3. Timber Porro for -4. No, I would just play Porro. It still leads. It's a good fixture. Adenji, I didn't really get your first question, who the players were, if you wouldn't mind repeating it. Start João Pedro or Reinders? I would start Reinders. I know, João Pedro, ownership's massive. You probably do want to be tempted by that, but I'm just not bullish on João Pedro. Akash is saying, I started playing this season after a few years. I'm seeing a lot of creators already use their chips. Why is this? Are they not going to be double blanks? No. So basically, this is the first season where we are getting twice as many chips. So previously, you'd have 2 wildcards and then you'd have 1 of each chip. This season, we all have to use all of the chips by game week 18 deadline, I believe. So we're in a position where we have to use our chips in these opening first half of the season. That is why more chips are being used. Historically, we use the wild card early and we keep the bench boost triple captain free here until the second half of the season. This season, it looks like we're getting less doubles and blank game weeks, so even more reason to use the chips early doors. Saka in for Gakpo or Gyökeres in for Richarlison. I prefer Saka in for Gakpo 100%. Jamie, the bench boost is fine. It's fine. I think they all start. I think you get good minutes. Yeah, it's fine. Stu, Gabriel Senesi in for Nico Williams and Sarr in for Gibbs White. Got two free transfers, but tempted just to go with Sarr to mortgage White with defensive Consa Van. Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. You do know you're taking a risk with Gabriel, don't you? Because he might not actually be available. Gordon and Gyökeres or Voldemara and Saka, Anthony is saying. So look, I like all of them. But I just love Saka as a pick. So it would be Voldemara and Saka in that scenario. I have Saka and Gyökeres. Should I prioritise bringing in Raya or Gabriel? I have sufficient funds to do either. I think over the next 6 weeks, I'd prefer Gabriel. For this week, I prefer Raya. So it comes down to your long-term planning almost in that scenario. Grealish, Watkins, Ronaldo, Voldemada, and Dye Timber in. I would not be selling Watkins. No chance with this fixture. Triple captain Saka? Yes, I could get behind that if you want to go there. Could Salah be a good captaincy shout this week? Chelsea, yeah. So if you own Salah, the ultimate differential this week is captaining him 100% because Chelsea are all over the shop defensively and Salah is Salah. He can deliver, but unfortunately we haven't seen any signs of that this season. I spoke about this in detail. If Liverpool go back to their traditional team with Szoboszlai doing all the running for Salah in those channels defensively and offensively, suddenly Salah becomes an incredible pick. But if you had Salah and Haaland, I'd go Haaland. If you don't have Haaland, Salah captaincy is very rogue, but it's Salah. As if a Gakpo, yes, but I also think you're just selling a minutes risk for a future possible minutes risk at times. But I do think Eze has done enough to establish himself right now as a guaranteed starter in that Arsenal team. Start Munoz or Porro? I would probably go Munoz. I think he's got more attacking potential right now. Porro isn't the player that we've seen in recent years under Spurs, unfortunately. Starting 4 at the back, Gabriel, Senesi, Romero, Konsa. Starting João Pedro and Konsa over Ndai, but keep changing between them. If I had Ndai, I wouldn't want to start him in a home game on penalties myself. Right, guys, I think I'm going to go for another 5 minutes or so. Apologies, I do need to do a bit on TikTok, so I will have to wrap it up soon. So any questions, please do fire them away. I'll be sure to get to them. And if you haven't already, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. Always massively appreciated. But yeah, let's try and do a quick 5-minute Q&A before I have to, unfortunately, wrap it up. Just to give you guys an idea of what my team is. That is my team locked in. So, we're going to go from Abel, Gideon, and we're going to run through there until 10-2. So, start Vardy or Richards. If I owned Vardy, I would start Vardy. Will, who should I start? Van de Ven or Richards with Senesi and Gabriel? I would start... I think Richards is better for defensive contributions, so I probably would go for Richards in that scenario and have Van de Ven first sub to replace Gabriel if he doesn't play. Andrew, I'm sorry if you have already replied to my internet keeps crashing. Shall I cancel my bench boost due to the weather? Andrew, no. I just think personally, I would not take the weather into account. If your bench boost is good enough, I would keep playing your bench boost and just run with it. Yes, if you have the doubts, and maybe, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really have time to do a bit of detailed look at the weather. I do apologise. But maybe have a little bit of a look. See if there is actually some messages being put out by clubs. If there is, then it does scare you off. Then yeah, cancel the bench boost. But what I've seen is Storm, it has a risk, but I think it probably still continues the games. It wouldn't be enough for me to put off the bench boost. Should I start Aiden Anthony over Reinders or Ndai? No, I would start both of those over him. Got any no words? Connor, top man as always, enjoy making TikToks. Appreciate it, Connor. Jack Webb, start Saka over Anderson, João Pedro or Reinders. So, I would definitely not play Anderson with the situation right now. So, I'd just bench Anderson. Diakite of Bournemouth or Alex Scott to start. Wow, you own both of those? Wow. It would be Diakite, however you pronounce it. Yeah. James Brown, what name? João Pedro or Van Dijk? It's going to be Van Dijk. We're going to be honest. I think Van Dijk's got more chance of scoring than João Pedro. Drop Pedro, Reinders, Anthony or Ndai? Anthony in that scenario. Tough game for Burnley. Tough game. Andrew, no worries. If anyone's just jumped in, I'm doing 2 more minutes of a Q&A and then we're going to have to wrap it up. So please do fire it in if you haven't already. But this is my team locked in. No transfers. Captaincy on Haaland. Keeping the triple captain and bench boost in the back pocket for future weeks. So I will give it 2 minutes, then we will wrap it up. Treble saying Reinders or Gakpo. I don't want my blue tinted glasses in front of me. It would be Reinders for me, yes. Going in no worries at all, my friend. Gakpo could be great. He could be benched. Reinders we know is starting. If he isn't starting, I do apologise. But we haven't had any indication to suggest he will be benched. So yeah, I think we might wrap it up there, guys. Logan saying Van Dijk or Lacroix for this week. I mean, Andrew. Oh, sorry, Andrew. Apologies, I missed super chat there. I do apologise. I was reading through. Really do appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. That is very generous. So thank you so much for that one, Andrew. Much appreciated. Van Dijk or Lacroix this week. I think both concede. So I probably would go for Van Dijk. Start Xhaka or Bruno Fernandes. Will, you know the answer to that. Bruno Fernandes. Captain Salah or Gyökeres. I love the Salah captaincy as differential, but it probably would be Mo Salah. I'm going to be honest, over Gyökeres. Saka or Gyökeres. Sorry, Saka or Salah. It's Saka. Beautiful. Right. we're going to wrap it up there, guys. I do apologize. I do a bit on TikTok now. So if you're interested, check that out. But have a great game week. Thank you to everybody that tuned into the stream. It's always massively appreciated, especially on a Friday where it's always a bit manic. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I will see you in the next video, which will probably be on Sunday, reflecting on some of the games already. Have a great game week. Have a great week. Don't let FPL ruin your weekend, of course. And I will see you in the next one.